Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
All right, guys. It's Friday. It's Friday, and I'm glad to be here with you today, but I feel like absolute shit. Oh my gosh, I feel so... I just like... Oh, I'm so sick. I feel so sick. Let's go to the charts, though. Let's see what we got going on here. Well, the treasuries yesterday, they took a little bit of a dive after some of that economic news and so forth that we got. They did just kind of continue going lower. And now here in the overnight session, even more. And it's kind of starting to look like, well, actually, yes, they have. They have filled in the single prints from the CPI on Wednesday. So, kind of interesting. You know, it would just be so classic. So classic for the CPI to not matter and things just continue to go down. But we'll see. We'll see. S&P 500 taking a little bit of a breather here. A little bit of selling at the close yesterday. Oil still kind of just trudging along down here in the 78, 79-ish area. Gold and silver are looking pretty okay, though. And copper just continues to be extremely volatile here around $5. I mean, it's quite volatile. And then we got the Japanese yen with the treasuries kind of retracing that thing and the dollar moving back up. Not back to 105s, but still kind of moving back there.
Block set.
And Bitcoin holding its gains from earlier in the week so far, at least. All right, and while I was doing that, I don't know if you just heard that, but there was a big order that just came through here. Where is it? 3K sell at 11.5. Overall, though, I would say that for the first 10 minutes, that's super tight. And I don't really see a whole lot going on here. Let's come over to our spreadsheet. Oh, we want to go back over to this one. No, not that one. That one. There we go. Okay, so today is a No News Friday. No News Friday. Later half of the month. Waller and Ashkari at 10:15. Extremely tight opening range. Okay. So that all suggests to me that we're not going to have a whole lot of opportunities today. If we do get some volatility, it could end up being like something super crazy, but generally speaking, it's not going to be very good opportunities. So that gives us some chance to chat. We could go into the programming again. I fixed all this so we could run Home Wrecker. But one thing is that as soon as I start doing that, I'm going to want to like run it over multiple years of data. And I don't think that I have the caching built into that indicator yet. I'm going to have to do that off stream. Maybe I'll do that later. Plus, I gotta admit, man, I just don't feel good. So like all week I was kind of like, Yeah, I feel like I'm getting a little bit more sore than I usually would. And I can kind of feel something in my throat, but like nothing's coming up. Like when I cough, it's just clear, right? So I do my workout. Yesterday, I thought that my workout was supposed to be a light workout, but then it was like light on the lifts and then max out your back squat. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna max out my back squat. I did not get to my previous record of 155. I stopped at 140. I got to 140 and I was just barely able to eke that one out. And I'm like, okay, I think that we're done. And I was just like spent after that. So I, take a shower, which, I didn't really want to stand up. And then I decided to lay down for a little bit. And then I went into that feverish mode. You ever get this thing where it's like, you're fine until you lay down and get in bed and warm up. And then your body's like, okay, let's have a fever and try and kill this or something, right? Like, that's what happened to me. So, I went to bed super early. I was sweating all night. I wake up, man, my, this whole nasal passageway up here, again, not a whole lot coming out. And when I do blow my nose, it's clear. But, it's, so inflamed. I need, a Tylenol. But I don't think I'm going to take one. So I kind of wonder if doing the max back squats kind of kicked me over the edge, would I have gotten sick if I hadn't worked out? I don't know. And how much of it is maybe just allergies too. I may be just having seasonal allergies. So yeah, that's why I'm not feeling super great this morning. I thought about just sleeping in and not doing the stream. But I was getting bored. I was waking up. I had slept enough. And plus, what am I going to do without you guys? Huh? So we can sit here, watch this boring market together. Captain Price posts always those flowers. Yeah, it might be allergies. Because one of the things is that my wife keeps opening up windows, in the bathroom. I'm like, okay, thanks for getting pollen all over in the bedroom. So we'll see if me being in here, because this is the safe room, right? If that helps. My wife's probably going to want to do all sorts of yard work. Oh no, what's wrong with Zero Hedge? The front page of Zero Hedge isn't loading. Look at that. There was an unexpected error loading, it starts to load. Can I stop it? No. What's with that? Senator Mitt Romney said that if he were president, he would have immediately partnered President. Sure you would, Mitt. Okay, that's a weird take from him, but okay. Nassim Taleb still yapping about Palestine. He doesn't post anything interesting anymore because he's just obsessed with that thing. Sad. I'm looking at Neuralink Hype Muscat. Well, I mean, did you see that story last week where they basically said that the first guy to get the implant, that the wires have basically already moved off and it doesn't work anymore? And everybody was like, yeah, this has kind of always been the problem, is that the body doesn't like the wires being on there and moves them. Because they've always kind of said that, like a lot of people have always been skeptical of that startup, that it's not actually going to work out. Cloning ban? Okay. You know, that is a subject that has not come up in a long time. Watch, now that you've brought it up, it's like the algorithms are gonna like send us stuff about it all the time. Do you think that it's possible that somebody has cloned a human being? Because it seems to me like that we have the technology, and it's totally possible that some rogue scientist has gone and done it. What the heck is this? Secret Service agents demand investigation into Biden's Marxist DEI policies following unusual assault by female agent on male superior. Over 3 dozen agents from the U.S. Secret Service have called for an urgent congressional investigation into Joe Biden's Marxist diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, Tampa Press reported. These policies are undermining the agency's effectiveness and posing a potential threat to national security, according to a petition that surfaced last week. The petition, endorsed by 39 agents, was highlighted by Bloomberg White House correspondent Jennifer Jacobs on social media. It specifically calls out the administration's DEI policies, suggesting they may be responsible for a string of incidents that reveal a concerning drop in operational readiness and possible bias in disciplinary practices. There is a petition circulating inside the Secret Service that flags concerns about a number of recent Secret Service incidents indicative of inadequate training, a double standard in disciplinary actions, and a vulnerability to potential insider threats that could pose a risk to U.S. national security. It was first shared Monday, I'm told, and it has 39 signatures so far. The aim is to call for a congressional investigation. Oh yes, I do remember this. According to Real Clear Politics, the petition was launched after a disturbing incident involving Michelle Herzeg. I don't know how you say that. CZEG, a female Secret Service agent assigned to Kamala Harris, who reportedly engaged in a physical altercation with her male superior at Joint Base Andrews last month. I don't see how they're related, but it seems like there's some information missing there. Why was this person hired from DEI initiatives and wasn't qualified for the job or something? I don't know. You know, it's kind of interesting. I kind of felt like that maybe some of that cultural battle had kind of died down. I think mostly because everybody was so focused on the campus protests, but like I think people got bored of that one because man, the amount of stuff I've seen about the Harrison Butker thing, oh man, it's just insane the amount of content that I've seen on that. I guess the algorithm picked up on that I was interested in watching it, but I literally watched like hundreds of videos with people expressing their opinion on this. And I kind of it's a weird thing. I don't know how to game this out because the conservative women are like really taking umbrage to this situation, like you know, defending him and all of this sort of thing. I think that it kind of struck a nerve with multiple people. I don't know. Should I go further into this? I've got like the useful take, and I've got the hot take. Should I give you the hot take on that? I don't know. It doesn't sound like you guys wanted enough. Let's just continue to look at the treasury futures here going nowhere. Going nowhere. Oh, they did tick down a little bit, but they recovered it. The fever. Wait, what would the fever take be? It's my hot, highly controversial, let's piss people off take. Why not? I haven't said anything to, like, you know, try and get myself canceled lately. You know what? If I was a famous person, probably I would be canceled by now, don't you think? Just small enough, nobody cares. Okay, here's my hot take. There are a large number of millennial women that are in their mid to late 30s and are slowly realizing that they will never have children and may never even get married. And they are still coming to terms with it. That's what I think is going on. I think that, so like anytime a subject around it comes up that's like anywhere even remotely close to that area, they get super triggered and upset about it. That's what I think is going on. That is my idea of a hot take. Anybody that's a middle-aged millennial woman that doesn't have kids is gonna be super pissed off about that. So don't show this to any of them, okay? Don't tell them that. Wait, what? It's surprisingly well timed for me. Why do you say that? By the way, while I'm thinking about it, you know, we programmed that strategy up yesterday. I think there's a couple of other things that we would want to do with like caching and all this stuff to like get it work, but like the strategy itself should work, so I could send that to you. Let me send that to you. There we go. Send that to you. Okay. We had a business issue with a single middle-aged white woman. The employee wiped some bleach off her hands on some commemorative towels the girl had for her mom. Despite refunding her, apologizing, offering everything we could, this woman just wouldn't accept any solution. They just wanted to be upset, I guess. Man. Dude, that's actually... Wow. That's a pretty shitty mistake to make, isn't it? Man. Ruin a commemorative towel. Wait, so I told my wife, single white, middle-aged, childless female, make up a similar story, validate her feelings, you'll get an apology, and it totally worked. Oh, God. Oh my gosh, something came up there. I should have tried spitting it out and looking at it. Oh well. That is actually a really funny story. They don't want solutions. They want to know you have the same feelings of misery and loneliness. But I mean, that's where it's so controversial. Like, because they're going to say, I'm not unhappy. I'm living my best life, yada, yada, yada. And yet the rest of us are looking at this and watching their behavior and are like, I don't think you're actually happy, honey. I can fix, you can? How do you fix a bleached towel? We've dropped bleach on carpets before. It's easier to fix than people think. You know, I should live in Florida. If I lived in Florida, I would 100% pay for your guys' services. How's this a little messy today? Amazon sells this dye kit that comes with a diluted bleach neutralizer. Oh. Oh, I really thought that when something gets messed up with bleach that it is truly permanent. I kind of think you may be exaggerating the effectiveness of this solution. That's interesting. So like, I think there is actually a take about all of this that could help in trading. So, because here's what I see happening, right? It's like, you've got different systems in your mind. You got slow systems and fast systems, right? So your slow systems are kind of like things that are doing logic and math problems, and you have to sit down and think about things. And then you have this fast system that's kind of instinctual, and like the answers just come to you. And you know, those fast systems are kind of like social interactions. That's, I think, why we evolved that is because it's a neural network in the front of your neural cortex. And neural networks are really good at taking really a ton of completely separate pieces of information and combining them all together to make a decision about something that's going on. Like, that's what ChatGPT 4.0 is doing. Is it's a model. It's running on like your reactions to it, your voice, your how you move, because it can see you, right? The problem with the neural network, though, is that it's heavily context dependent, and it will come up with wrong answers, right? ChatGPT will hallucinate things. Right? Well, we as people, we hallucinate things too. So if you don't understand the context of the situation correctly, or you've been brainwashed by certain ideologies, which I think has been going on too, then you hallucinate. And I really believe that a lot of people are hallucinating things that this Harrison Buchter guy said that he did not actually say. Because they're all saying, oh, he thinks that a woman's only worth is having children. And that's so wrong. And no, he didn't say that at all. He didn't say that at all. He was talking to a conservative Christian college, and he was basically saying, here, I'm going to try and present it in like a little bit more exaggerated and humorous way to present how I see what he's saying. Guys, look, I know this is a conservative Christian college, and I know how it goes at a conservative Christian college, right? Like a lot of you women, you want to be educated, but you're not planning on entering the workforce. You know, you're here to get a PhD in husbandology or something like. I'm just saying, like that's the way a lot of it is. Okay, you go to here in Utah, we've got BYU. Okay, that's the way that it is at BYU. There are some people, they only go to college to find a husband. That's just the audience, you know. That's what he said. That's what he said. He said, I know that a lot of you are more interested in being homemakers, and you don't feel like that decision is validated by society, and I'm here to tell you that it is a good thing, and to support you in that, because you know I know that that's what a large portion of you want to do. And they clapped. They liked it. Like, that's the context, right? And with, like I'm saying, without the correct context, they literally hallucinate him saying things that he didn't say. They see some sort of meaning or messaging that's not there. I've done it 30 times in the last 12 years, but you do you. Okay, I'll try it. It wouldn't make them angry if it weren't true. Oh man, Uzi. I mean, that's dangerous stuff to say. It is. You guys are supposed to talk me off of the ledge here, not encourage me. Like, what do you think will happen? What do you think will happen? Like, let's give it 10 more years. 10, 20 more years. What do you think this demographic is going to be doing, saying, feeling? One of the things that I see a lot of, or a lot of talking about on the male side, is they say that, like, you know, when you get older, like once you're in your 50s and 60s, as a man, all of a sudden nobody cares about you. Everybody treats you like an idiot. And I kind of look at that, and I do kind of see that kind of cultural thing going around, right? Is just like, I use an old man, they're not, you know, they're not significant anymore. Really undervalued. So, like, what is going to happen to these women when they're at that age and they never have any kids and stuff? How they're going to be treated and how they're going to feel, you know? Lonely millennial white women with soul-crushing desk jobs looking for men at the bottom of grocery store wine bottles, taking every challenge in life as a personal attack. I wish that we had some ways to, like, quantify these sorts of things, because one of the problems is that, like, what I immediately noticed on social media is that all of the people that were basically lying about what he said were all of the ones that their content took off. Like, it's rage bait. It's rage bait. And so there's no way for me to know how many people actually believe that versus, you know, because I see a lot of women saying the opposite, say that they agree with him. Like, how do people actually feel? Maybe there will be some polling on it. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. That was a good sneeze. I only know my lived experiences, and it's 100% true. Oh, my man. In 10 to 20 years, we'll have personal robots and anti-aging will be rolling out, and I think the future... I tend to agree with you, Sean, but I don't think that these women are going to get married and have children. And I'm not quite sure I understand the long-term cultural impacts of this. I think I need to do some more research about which stocks I should buy based on this, right? If only there was a stock that I could buy that was like for, you know, how much rage there was on the internet, you know? Long autistic screeching, right? My wife and I never had kids, been together 20 years. Well, it's not some relationship ruining argument. It's something we both kind of regret a little. Really? Interesting. You know, well, I mean, it is a thing. It's like, I'm not going to say that, like, you're an incomplete person. You've never had children, because that's not necessarily true. But having kids definitely changes you. And you don't know, I don't think you completely know yourself if you haven't gone through that experience, you know? And I just can't imagine never doing that. My uncle, he's never going to have kids, I don't think. But 20 years ago, meeting a girl who wasn't thinking I'm going to spend the rest of my life on birth control was virtual. Really? You just need to move to Utah. You should have been in Utah. You would have found them. It was. And I wasn't thinking about kids back then. I mean, that's the thing. In Mormon culture, you're pretty much taught, like, okay, your goal in life is go to college and then pump out as many babies as you can. That's so it's not quite that bad, but we very much teach you should have children. And young too. I'm just telling you, like, there's lots of society, like all these people are saying, it's too expensive. It's too expensive to have kids. You spend more on the child care than what you make at the job and all of these, like, it's not worth it. And I'm over here like, well, in Utah, there's still a lot of women that, really, really large number of women that are stay-at-home moms. And we don't have those problems. Like, because there's not as many people that need childcare. There's tons of people that are able to provide it because they're basically watching their own kids, and they're like, oh, well, why not? We have some other neighbor kids over too. We'll watch them, right? Childcare is the cheapest in Utah. Yeah, but you guys have weird, complex, polygamous, tight-knit community. No. You know what? This is actually a weird thing for the LDS community. Lowe's like, the only apostates do polygamy. Okay, and I don't know if this is like maybe inherent in polygamy, or if it's just like the nature of apostasy. I guess you could say, but like. Those communities where the polygamy is going on are extremely abusive. Holy crap. It's insane. It's like, you know, marrying kids off at 12, 14 years old and all this kind of stuff. And you don't get to pick who your spouse is. You know, the religious leader decides who gets married and whatnot. It's just insane. But there are, my understanding is, some groups where like you get kind of on the outskirts of the city, and you know, people have these big houses, and it's because they've got like, you know, 3 actual households in that house or something like that. You know, and the rest of us, we don't know how that goes or what's going on there. But we do have tight-knit communities because basically like everybody on the block goes to the same church and knows everybody, so it's, you know. So it has nothing to do with the polygamy, but yes, we do have the tight communities. I'm saying, like, some of the things, like the issues that people complain about, like that community is being just like, I don't have those problems because they live in Utah. Not that it's perfect. I'd say it still seems difficult to interact with people, get things going outside of church. You know, people are just too busy, and oh my gosh, it's terrible. Your faith is lucky in that respect. Mainstream Christianity, Catholicism is busy giving itself to the communists because I guess membership is dwindling. Well, I don't think it's just that. I think it's because there is genuine political disagreement. You could see, you know what? This is something that you could see in the Mormon community in the future. Okay, like it's already happening. So like the hot button issue that you probably would see it the most with in Mormons is whether or not women should have the priesthood. It'll never happen. Because when you get into the deeper doctrines that people don't typically talk about, you find out that actually women can be priestesses. But anyways, there are groups of people because Mormons tend to be affluent, right? Like we're all about, okay, here's the straight and narrow path is you go to school, you try your hardest at school, you go and get into a nice company. And you know, I took that path. Like after having gone through it, I kind of, well, I would have done it again, but I also kind of resent that, like, if you don't go through the pipeline correctly, then like corporate America doesn't want you. That's so messed up. But right, Mormons, we tend to do well because we go through that and we adhere to the system, right? And so you have a lot of really affluent Mormons that are highly educated, and guess which way that demographic of people is trending right now? More and more liberal, right? So there is a growing section of Mormons that are extremely liberal and dislike some of the church's policies and want the church to change, right? And so they, you know, I wouldn't surprise me at some point to see some changes. There are some changes I don't think you'll ever see. Like, I don't think that they'll ever allow gay marriage in the temple. You know, I don't think that they'll ever allow female bishops, but they'll probably expand the role of women and stuff, I guess. I don't know. I'm relatively secular, and even I understand the value of tight-knit religious communities. Yeah, now, the split side. There is a kind of a break off of the Mormon church. Like basically, after Joseph Smith died, all of the Mormons left and came over to Salt Lake. And then later, there's some people that were still in the Missouri area, kind of after the fact, formed another church. So they call it like the reorganized church or something like that, right? So I've talked about this before, but if you go to Independence, Missouri, that's where they're based, and it's like a crazy town there. Okay. So there are all these Mormon offshoots that believe like completely different stuff from the Mormons, okay? And they went down that path. They did. Like, basically, there was like a crisis. There was two. I don't remember what they were. One of them was that, like, they think that the prophet is passed from father to son, and like one of them didn't have any sons. So they're like, oh, should women have the priesthood? So they made a change that allow women to have the priesthood. Then there was, while I was there, like their prophet just decided, I don't want to do this anymore, and resigned. And so they were like just without a prophet for a while and stuff like that, right? And it fractured their membership up. It was insane. It's crazy. Man, you could spend a lifetime studying the culture and the psychology behind all of that. Is just like the wildest stuff you've ever seen, man. It's crazy. But it was not good for their church. Like their church dwindling, and then what happened was like they joined this Christian League of Churches or something like that, and in order to do that, they had to make changes to their doctrine, and that made even more members go, and pretty much gutted their church. So, I don't know. But with Catholicism, it kind of seems like that there's a genuine dichotomy. There's a lot of really liberal Catholics out there, you know, like Joe Biden. Like Joe Biden. And then there's that whole thing with where it was like they had a pope and the pope was too conservative and basically got ousted is my reading of it. I know that that's not what exactly happened, but my reading of it is they ousted the pope and put in a communist in its place. Because that guy, he straight up says communist stuff, right? Like, I don't understand how a church can change. That means the church was wrong before, or the changes are wrong now. Well, yeah, yes and no, Raymond. So there are certainly some things that if you change, it pretty much like undermines the whole church. Okay, like, because they're like foundational beliefs, right? So if you come out and all of a sudden you say, we don't believe that that Jesus Christ is divinity, we just think that he was a great prophet, like what Muslims believe, for instance, right? Okay, then you're changing like the fundamental doctrinal basis of your entire religion, right? So yeah, I don't think that you could come in and say Christ is not divinity, and if you did that, not very many people in your church would stick around, right? Okay, but can you come in and say, well, women couldn't have the priesthood before, but God has seen fit to give us further light and knowledge, and reveal new things to us, and this new knowledge is actually there is a place for women to have the priesthood? Could happen. It could happen. I personally don't think the Mormon Church will do it, but could happen. And in that situation, that's not, because it's not necessarily a foundational belief, right? And you're kind of saying, well, it was always the case, but we didn't know about this yet. God hadn't revealed it to us yet, right? And that'll happen, right? Like probably the biggest case that happened with the Mormon Church was that for a long time, black people could not hold the priesthood. And in the 70s, they took a look at that and they said, actually, you know what? We don't know why blacks can't. Nobody ever explicitly said that blacks couldn't have the priesthood. It just kind of like became its own thing because that's like what a lot of racist people personally believed and all of that. And so they made the rule change, right? And nobody was upset about that. Everybody was like, no, that was the correct thing, we understand. So, I don't know. I find churches that change less to be more attractive as an outsider than churches that try to conform to progressive cultural changes. Yeah, and that's the thing. This is like so what I'm seeing in the LDS church is the LDS church has traditionally been one of the most resistant to any kind of like progressive cultural change. Okay. Like Mormons still largely believe that, it's important for you to have children, and if it's possible for you, for the wife to watch the children and be a homemaker. Okay, that's like just like straight up Mormon beliefs. Okay, this is not like you shouldn't go to college or anything like that, because pretty much every woman I know went to university, got the degree, and that, as a backup plan in case something happens, husband dies or whatever, you still have a degree to fall back on. But then as soon as they got out of school, they started having children and they never joined the workforce. That's what most Mormons do, right? Okay, so that's just like probably the best example of like the social conservatism that Mormons have that is maintained in the Mormon community, that it has pretty much been lost pretty much everywhere else, right? Okay, but there is definitely like, okay, in tone, the church wants to kind of play to all of these things about, well, we need diversity and we need equality and all of these sorts of things. Right? Because again, nothing's more conservative than being moderate, right? Like, of the day that a drag queen is giving a sermon, I'd be out forever. Dude. So we have a close family friend that my father baptized when he was on his mission, that became, transitioned from a man to a woman. And she left the church because she was very upset that like they wouldn't let her go to Relief Society, for instance, right? Relief Society is you have like the main the sacrament meeting where like everybody's together, and then every other week we switch. One week is Sunday school, and then 1 week is priesthood Relief Society. So priesthood is all the men, and Relief Society is all the women. Okay. So they wouldn't let her go to Relief Society. She was like super, super upset about it, right? And this was a long time ago, okay? Like she transitioned in like the 90s, okay? But like she has a very different view on it now. It was weird when I got to meet her and see. He was kind of like, I don't know if he identified as a girl anymore. Kind of was one of those people that like saw it as a mistake. It was weird. We had a similar conversation, different many of these same reasons why so many people are suddenly Muslim. Muslim is strong and unchanging as a religion. Oh man, no, I don't know about that one. Like all of these kids on campus, and they're like, converting to Islam and whatnot. That to me is just signs of people going absolutely crazy and being brainwashed and stuff. Because Islam like is directly opposed to like almost every liberal value that we hold dear as Western society. People who need creative, people who are crazy, who might need help. Well, there's that again. It always brings me back to like autistic people. Like, my opinion is autistic people are like the most vulnerable people in our society. And there are a lot of people that they're autistic and we don't really notice it or realize that that's what's going on. And they can get swept up in these sorts of things, and it turns out very, very badly for them. Like they're the first group of people that get hurt from this stuff. Yeah, that's the underdog. Yeah, I highly doubt that any of those people will still be practicing Muslims 10 years from now. Yes, you're right. The hard lesson for those people will be that Islam doesn't take being mocked lightly. Like, yeah, once they turn around and they join their local mosque, and then they start trying to argue with the local imam about, well, we should adopt these new progressive values, they'll find very, very quickly that that's not welcome. They won't be practicing Muslims next month. Yeah. I'm surprised that's, that's still kind of going on, isn't it? But it's going to be the summer now, so I don't know. Maybe that's why people are already moving on. So the treasuries here today have been like super quiet and tight. This is some of the worst trading I have ever seen, but I 100% expected it because it's a No News Friday. But. Look at freaking gold, man. They are popping off. Extending above 2,400. Remember when it was like, will gold ever get back to 2,000? Holy crap. Holy crap. What's going on with gold? And they are just rallying like on their own. Nothing else is really moving like that. Well, I guess the dollar is falling. The dollar is falling. Still, that's wild. Maybe we should go trade gold. Oh yeah, it's like a very clear technical trend. Although I would say that like the slope of that move kind of looks like a little overdone. I don't think that they're gonna be able to hold all of that. Spot silver rises to 34.37. Okay, so I think I made a mistake with my silver because I bought like what did I buy here? Let's look at this for a little bit. It's like AG. Yeah, that's right. AG. AG. My total loss on it is 50%, and yet silver is at new highs. Why is that? What happened to that company? Did they like dilute us or something? Something happened with that one and I missed and I screwed up, you know? Majestic Silver Corporation. Oh, let's take this data gap thing off. I'm just gonna change it to like a 1-day chart. Okay, so in 2021, they were like way up at $14. And now silver is like at highs and they're still kind of struggling. What's with that? Are they just not doing well as a company relative? So let's add here. Let's add silver futures. Silver futures. On same percent scale. Yeah, it is. See, like they I'm gonna go to like around here to be able, you know, to kind of like account for these crazy days, right? I'm just gonna set it so that it's after those crazy days. Silver has done well. This kind of fell down more. It's correlated, but this downturn right here in particular in 2022 was really bad. So I screwed up on that one. But what is it? Why is it saying, oh, well, the market hasn't opened up yet today. So we'll see here in 10 minutes how much I should be up like $5 on that today. I should be up like $5 on that. Oh, it looks like REEMF is doing something. Let's look at that real quick, too. Get rid of that. Oh, okay. And so here was that jump, and then they kind of offered shares, and this is where it's been kind of quiet. But it's still... Although, okay, this chart is showing that it's like at $15, and my Fidelity says that it's still at like 22 cents.
Block buy.
Oh, that's because I'm missing this part right here. Ah, I gotcha. Oh, okay, so it is up today. It's so funny. Okay, they did the dilution and everything, and it just got like creamed there, right? And so I couldn't even see like where the action was. Okay, so there was this kind of little decline that kind of sucked. And it'd been around 20 for a while, but today they are up a little bit today. Cool. With SPOO's volatility dies, so everybody's gone to trade gold. Maybe, man. So here's the thing. Zero Hedge posted a story about this. This is all kind of like speculative conspiracy theory stuff, but like it's kind of not. Okay. Anyways, you understand what I mean. Copper is popping off like crazy. Because what happens with all of the metals is there are all of these people, because they're miners and whatnot, right? And so the way that they hedge is they come in and they sell the futures, because they're already long the commodity, they sell the futures, right? And that's how they make their money. And so there's always been this complaint from people in the metal space that there's too much paper money out there, that all of these people are coming in and selling the futures, even though there's not actually enough of the metal to like justify that much of it, right? Basically, they think that there should be a limit on the number of contracts that can be opened based on the amount of the commodity that they actually have at the warehouse. Okay. And in copper, there's been like a triple whammy of like, China has been growing again. And then there's concerns about copper supply and all of these sorts of things. And so copper has just been on a really long positive trend. But then it's gotten to a point where these people that are short are stuck. Basically, they have shorts that they will have to unwind before the contract expires because they don't have the copper to deliver, essentially. Right? And so copper is seeing this insane squeeze. And this is the thing that the gold and silver bugs always wanted to have happen. This is where they were always saying, if the public got involved in gold and started moving to gold, you could get a really insane squeeze because of the structure of that market and all of these people that are going short. So whenever we've had like the GameStop thing popping off, and everybody's thinking about short squeezes, gold and silver always kind of will pop up as, well, what if they pumped gold and silver? Last time around, when people started saying that, it went for like one day, and then for some reason, all of the people on the subreddits and everything were said, no, that's a terrible idea, we're not going to do that. But they shot it down immediately. But now today, all the people in gold and silver are kind of like, oh, the wish that what was happening in copper was happening with them. Maybe somebody is doing that. Maybe somebody did come in today and decide, we're going to buy a ton of silver and gold to try and help create more momentum in there, with the idea that will attract even more attention and we can start a short squeeze in gold and silver as well. That would be crazy, right? Kind of seems like it's happening. So, with that little aside, we were talking about religions. That's funny how we got onto religions. Well, but we started with talking about the guy, and it was a conservative Christian college and stuff. What do you think are the best single millennial women stocks? This would be hard ones to find. Yeah, because if I put woman in any of my searches, it will just give me all these stories about it. Or it's all these things that we're trying to do for women. Maybe if I put wine and cats. Like, so here's perhaps one side of this. For instance, when I was saying, like, I don't know what the cultural connotations of all of this are. These women will have money, right? They're going to have money. They're like at their peak earning years. and they don't have children to spend it on, what are they going to spend it on? And that's going to be a big driver of the economy. That's going to cause big shifts and things, I think. Okay, here's a good one. Or at least this is an article talking about this phenomenon. Okay, Morgan Stanley analysts found that single women outspend the average household in categories including apparel and footwear, personal care, food away from home, and luxury and electric vehicles, Seeking Alpha reported. So the banks predicted that brands likely to benefit from the growing demographic include Lululemon, that was going to be my first guess, Nike, Ross, TJX, Sephora, Ulta Beauty, Chipotle, Starbucks, and Tesla. I'm a little bit disappointed with those stock recommendations. Like Lululemon is one of them, but I kind of feel like Lululemon is going downhill. I don't know. Let's go look at their stock, though. How is their stock doing? Oh, dude, this GameStop is getting slaughtered in the pre-market this morning. Good grief. I mean, they got hammered pretty bad yesterday, but that's ugly. If only somebody could have seen this happening and warned us. Anyways. You can call me unsympathetic, but I have zero. You can call me unsympathetic, and you'd be right, because I don't feel bad for anybody that gets stuck in that. We tried to warn you. Okay. Oh, yeah, they have been falling in 2024. Interesting. That's an interesting looking chart. Oh, man, if only we were in Lululemon at $80. I can't believe that it's gone up that much. I didn't know that Lululemon is worth like $400. Because I could remember thinking about Lululemon as like a stock I would want to buy in like way back, maybe even like 2010. Yeah. But it was just like, I don't even have money to do it. And that's this is like the story of my life. I was like, I want to be an investor. I don't really feel like I have enough money to invest in stuff. And now I feel like I kind of do, but like I'm just like too hesitant. Everything looks overvalued to me, and I don't know, what I want to get into. Whereas back then I felt like I knew exactly. I don't think I would have gotten into Lululemon, but I can remember after 2008 being like, oh, buy Apple, buy Google. It's so stupid simple. Well, did work. Easy call. We are open, so I guess we can go to Koifin. What's going today? Rare earth element resources up 15%. We already noticed that one. Reddit is up 12%. Really? RDDT. Well, they did have a deal, right? They got a deal with. Oh my gosh! Wow, that is a wild chart. Okay, so like after Reddit, they popped off. After its IPO, it came down almost 50%, and now the last week, because they made an agreement with OpenAI for OpenAI to use Reddit posts to help train their models, Reddit has been doing quite well. I would still be concerned. I would need to go and look up details, but I would still be concerned about insiders getting outside of their mandatory holding period and just dumping on the stock. So I don't know if you'd want to get into it right now. I'd have to look up more. DJT not really moving. I don't know. I mean, there was like that initial jump, and they've kind of, 55 seems okay. Seems okay for them. I still don't like the company. I don't like the way they've been running that. No, thank you. Oh, the Magnificent Seven are quite mixed today. Tesla down 9.93%. Actually, they're all kind of slightly down because the best winner right now is NVIDIA. NVIDIA's still up there, by the way. Do you think NVIDIA will ever take a breather? Good grief, that chart is nuts, though. American Rare Earths up 4%. That's still like a super tiny stock, though. So not actually. That's just like it increased a cent. It means nothing. New scale down 13%. Oh my. Sorry, what's the ticker for them? SMR, that's right. I don't know. So when this was happening right here, this was when we first kind of started paying attention to New Scale a little bit more. And I was like, I don't know if you want to buy this. Because I thought that this company's like primary cause was basically, you know, rejected. So I didn't understand why we were having this. It has cooled off, so maybe these are better prices to get into. But I'm still really unsure about the future of the company. So. Cheesecake Factory down 4%. Say it ain't so. Okay, so here's the thing. So they were saying single women spend more money on clothes and eating out. Okay, so like I think one of the best places to go and eat out is the Cheesecake Factory. Am I wrong? I love the Cheesecake Factory. Dude, the Cheesecake Factory, they have like this burger that has macaroni and cheese on it. I like myself a macaroni. That's my favorite thing, probably. Macaroni and cheeseburger. But their macaroni and cheeseburger has like fried macaroni and cheese on top of it. It's like insane. It's insane. You eat it, it's insane. And I mean, they have so many insane things over there. They have a huge menu at Cheesecake Factory, right? Okay. I like it. But, you know, before we had children and we can't go anywhere, if I was going to take my wife out somewhere and we want to spend a little bit more, we'd go to the Cheesecake Factory. Okay. Well, then there was this kind of little movement on social media. This is, have you seen these guys saying like the sprinkle thing? It was because before that, there was these women that were saying like, I'm not going to put up with, you know, you have to take me somewhere nice. You really have to treat me nice and everything. Like, I don't think that I'm being treated nicely enough. And so then guys started saying the same thing to make fun of them. Okay. And one of the top things that they said was like, I will not go on a date with you to the Cheesecake Factory because that's trashy or something like that. And I'm like, are you kidding me? The Cheesecake, it's the greatest. Like, you want to do more than the Cheesecake Factory. You're talking like some real money. I ain't going to drop that on a woman every day. No, thank you. So, you know, I kind of went from really bullish on Cheesecake Factory to like, has the culture changed and left me behind and Cheesecake Factory's not cool anymore? I don't know. You tell me. Have you been eating there? But then there's Darden. What is their name? What is their ticker symbol? Darden Restaurants, DRI. Oh, that's not nearly as bad as I thought it would be. They're closing Red Lobster locations, apparently. I thought they'd be down more than that, but they seem to be doing okay. Maybe we should add one right here. Maybe we should add them here. ERI. Super Micro. This is a good one to look up. SMC. CI. Still kind of middling in here. Not terrible. AMD up 3% today. That's cool. Soundhound actually not up or down really big today. That's a change of pace for them. They're usually like up 15% or one's a big wild one. Evil companies. Ooh, evil companies are taking it on the nose today. But who's getting hurt the most? Bayer. Oh, yes. Bayry. Ah. Guys, look at that chart. Look at how terrible Bayer has been doing for the last like year and a half. It's just beautiful. It brings a tear to my eyes to know that one of the most evil companies in the world is having real problems with their stock price. Maybe there is true hope for capitalism yet. But you know what? Stock market a lot quieter than it used to be. It might be a slow summer, guys. I don't want to scare you, because you're gonna be like, I'm just gonna go on vacation and stop watching Seth. No, don't do that. Oh, I need you. You gotta stay here, man. I'll be so bored without you. It might be a boring summer, guys. That Memorial Day comes along. Liquidity is going to disappear. By the way, I'm rethinking my opinion of today as a day. So we've fallen out here. That's obviously not a huge deal, but I'm looking at the liquidity and it is thick. Yeah, that stack at 09.5, they just dropped like 5,000 contracts on it when it ticked up. It maybe, although I think we got to be careful. Maybe the book is so thick because it's so slow, right? The slower it is, the more anxious people are going to be to want to get a spot in line and all of that sort of stuff, right? So the lower volatility could be encouraging them to put more liquidity up. But I would still say it's a noticeable increase in liquidity, both from yesterday and from earlier on in the session. So there may actually be something going on here. I may be wrong to assume that today was just going to be a super quiet day. I will not take a trade on it because my head still feels so stuffy and my nose and everything. It's like just inflamed. I think I'm getting like getting sick and having the nervous system crash at the same time. Oh, this is not feel good. My legs kind of have that dull ache, you know? What if I search for old cat lady stocks? Old cat lady stocks. No, that's not working. It's just giving me images of old cat ladies. And not stocks. I still can't get to zero hedge. What do you think is with that? If I open up a private window, will it let me through? It does. So it's only because I'm logged in. So, this is how it happens, huh? Oh, wait. Now I go over here and it works. Okay. The world's #1 golfer tossed against... Okay, don't care. I don't know why that's the top story. It now takes $177,000 for a family of 4 to live comfortably in the... No. Okay, maybe in Massachusetts. Stuff about the Trump case. 2.5 trillion options expiration opens volatility expansion door for next week's Nvidia earnings. Nvidia, maybe let's come and look at Forex Factory and look at the schedule for next week. It may well be that that is the biggest thing happening. Well, lots of Fed speakers, especially at the beginning of the week. Wow. And we get meeting minutes. Some PMIs. I would say though that it's the later in the month. It's still probably gonna be quieter next week. $10K out. Well, yes and no. Let me tell you something, Payalo. When I first started trading this, there was almost always an 8K to 10K somewhere. Like, you would look at the low of the day or the high of the day or the last pivot, and there would be a 10K sitting up there, and we didn't think anything of it. It was always there. Then it kind of shifted and stuff. I would say that 5K contracts is thick. Like, once you get above 5K, you're talking about unusual circumstances. I can remember in 2019, kind of what happened in 2019 is people started buying the treasuries, and we were all kind of like, well, I don't know why you would necessarily buy the treasuries right now. I think that they're just buying it off of some technical thing, and I think that was the case. They didn't know that COVID was going to happen. And then COVID happened and it just blew up. Okay. But during that period, when they were buying it up in like the spring of 2019 or so, very, very thick liquidity. And I can remember some days in particular where there was like 7K at every price. And we're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? They really want to buy this. It was insane. And then for such a long time, they were only, we were only getting 1,000, 2,000 contracts on here. And now all of the sudden, in the course of a month, because it was not this high. Weren't we like 3,000 like just last month? It seems to me like it has thickened up considerably during the month of May. Let's say April and May. So a little bit of context for you there. Like 10K does seem wild, but I would expect to see it more and more. Probably a lot of this liquidity disappears for the summer, but then when they come back, could be seeing that just all the time. I'm still trying to sort out though why they would be so thick today. It's not the end of the month or anything like that. Maybe it's just for the options expiration. I suppose it could be for options expiration. I'm concerned that we're in for a bit of a doozy on Monday. Like, especially for all of the apes stuck in GameStop. Because the whole thing was, get all of the options to expire in the money and it did not last. They, it's coming down. Some, hopefully a lot of those guys sold, but some of them did not. It's almost come completely back down to like the 16. And yeah, so I'm kind of thinking that on Monday you could have something like this, right? But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. You know what? I am quite enjoying talking to you guys this morning. Feels like we've said so much and it's only been an hour. So, do you trade every day? Yes, every day. I don't actually take an actual live trade every day, but I am here every day. I've been trading less and less. Like it used to be like maybe one trade a day, maybe one trade every other day. And lately it's been like one trade a week. I took a trade on Wednesday and I made $10. We may be getting into that spot. I mean, if it's going to be this thick, like going for a one ticker may be like a much more viable strategy in this environment. And that's kind of something that really intrigues me, I guess. Where are you from? I'm from Utah. Salt Lake City, Utah. Home of the Utah Hockey Club. That hasn't been named yet. And the greatest snow on Earth. That's what we're really famous for in Utah's greatest snow on Earth. That makes me wonder what happened to the gondola project. They want to make a gondola that goes up the canyon. And that to me sounds like a great idea that probably wouldn't work very well in actual execution, but I still would kind of like to see it happen, mostly because of all the far left liberal environmental activists hate it. That would be like a super cool, like big attraction in Utah if it was actually a thing. But I haven't heard anything about it lately. Mamba, only some ticks with high contracts. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Are you saying like, okay, there's a 7K there, and there, but then there's only 5,000 at these other prices? Okay, but yesterday, like the highest liquidity that you saw anywhere on the DOM was like there was one price that had 5,200 on it, and everything else was in the 3s and 4s. It's a very high liquidity today. Seeing 5K at every price, that's thick. She is thick. She's just in her bulk phase, folks. It's okay. A woman should have a little bit of fat. Listen, you're a young kid. Okay, if you're young, let me tell you about a mistake that young guys make. Okay, you don't necessarily want the super skinny as a rail girl. Okay, you know what I'm talking about, where it's like their arm looks like a twig and you're like, how does that even move? And it doesn't look like they've ever done any kind of ounce of physical activity ever in their lives. You don't want those ones. The female body is supposed to have a little bit of fat on it. It's like a survival mechanism. It helps them. Women, on average, have a higher body fat percentage than men do. You need to just not too much. You want them to be healthy. You want them to be healthy, but there should be some meat on a girl. Okay, so don't be discouraged. Don't be like, I don't know, she seems kind of a little fat. When you see ZN over here with like 7,000 contracts a tick, okay, there's some advantages to that. The more liquidity there is, the more likely you are to be able to find like consistent order flow patterns that you can potentially trade off. And it makes it easier for you to manage your trades. You just have to be patient. But we could all learn to be more patient. Well, gold is kind of moderating a little bit here. They did kind of peak there when I was like, it seems like a little too fast. I think they will give some of that back up. That's exactly what happened. They turned around like almost that exact spawn. Take-Two shares drop after Grand Theft Auto 6 delayed again? Really? Chief Economic Advisor refuses to admit Biden is lying about inflation. So read that one. Do you prefer the 2-year or the 5-year TN? You know, I don't know if it's really viable for a retail trader to trade the 2-year or not. So you got to keep in mind that the 2-year has a different queue. Basically, if you are putting a lot of liquidity up, you are more likely to get filled. You get put to the front of the line. So if you're a retail trader and you're only putting one contract on, you will always be filled last, no matter how early you put your order in. And you know, the value per tick isn't very high. So I've never met anybody that was actively trading the 2-year. They look at it, yes, but actively trading the 2-year, I've never seen it. The 5-year is a little bit different because the 5-year, you get a little bit more volatility, but the value per tick is a little bit less. So, like, you can kind of work things out there. I would say the 5-year of these three, I feel like, well, they're all different. The ZB has its quirks. The 5-year has its quirks. I feel like the 5-year is the most alien to me sometimes, though. But I really think that the ZN or TN or the micro equivalents of those are probably the best things for retail traders to trade. Uh-oh, is Harrison Buchter a harbinger? Could be. Pelosi doesn't think Biden should debate Trump. That's interesting. Let's read this couple of here. This is from Ben Dominic from Spectator Worlds. The Biden White House and the Trump campaign have agreed on at least 2 debates, one in June and another in September. There really ought to be August and October debates too, but those will likely only happen if Team Biden thinks he can convince some voters at low risk for his candidacy. The big question is, why do this? And the answer is because the campaign thinks he is losing and he needs to prove he can still hack it on stage with Donald Trump. Probably. That probably is the case. Like, one of the biggest things that's dogging him is the age, and probably the only way that you can kind of assuage those concerns is to have him on the debate stage and show that he can actually still argue. So what are we to make of this new early debate scenario? For one, it could be read as an effort to allay Democrat fears pre-convention, the last realistic moment where Biden could be replaced on the ticket. For another, it could be driven by a belief that Trump has, despite his daily courtroom appearances, largely righted his ship and a disruption is needed to put him off his campaign game. But most of all, this should be read as playing a weak hand to the max. I have to register to read the rest of the article. Okay. Well, screw you guys then. I'm really interested in the Harrison Butker issue. It's gotten me, it's pulled me in. I hate you, internet. But you pulled me in, now I'm in on it. Okay. Let's read. From Glenn Harlan Reynolds on a Substack. How long is this article? I think we can hack it. There are some things you're not supposed to say in 2024 America, and Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker said one of them. Speaking to a graduation crowd at conservative Catholic Benedictine College in Atkinson, Kansas. Oh, yes, I know where that is. I didn't realize it was in Kansas, but now I'm like, yes, I do remember that. Butker took on Joe Biden's performative faux Catholicism, transgender ideology, and most shockingly suggested to female students that they would find better, more rewarding, and more productive lives as wives and mothers than in corporate-style careers. Yes, I've said this on stream like many times. I've never been canceled. Okay, whatever. For this, he received a standing ovation from the crowd. The wider world, however, was not so appreciative. Most notably, the city of Kansas City, Missouri tweeted out a repudiation and pointed indication that he lived elsewhere in a community the since deleted tweet specifically named. Facing complaints of doxing, the tweet was removed and Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas apologized. The Kansas City tried to dox him. Okay. I'm not sure that naming the general place where somebody lives truly qualifies as doxing, but I'm also unclear as to why municipal government thinks it's place to weigh in on what a non-resident private citizen says in a speech delivered in another state about social issues. Yeah, right? There were also demands from assorted leftist activists that Butker be punished. Who will win the election? Probably Trump. Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey has weighed in, criticizing the city's action, calling the mayor's apology inadequate and threatening to employ civil rights law. I will enforce the Missouri Human Rights Law to ensure Missourians are not targeted for their free exercise of religion. Well, this is a tempest in a teacup, really, but I think it's also a harbinger. Ooh. Over the past 50 years, traditional ideas like Butker's about marriage, child rearing, and gender roles have been marginalized in favor of those put much less emphasis on, well, marriage, child rearing, and traditional views about gender roles. And now, we are facing a global baby bust, or as some are calling it, a demographic winter, due to plunging birth rates worldwide. Fertility rates have fallen way below replacement level throughout the entire industrialized world, and this is starting to cause major problems all over the globe. Aging populations are counting on younger generations to take care of them as they get older, but younger generations are not nearly large enough to accomplish that task. Meanwhile, there aren't enough qualified young workers in many fields to replace the expertise of older workers that are now retiring. Sadly, this is just the beginning. Back in the 1960s, we started to worry about a population explosion, and Paul Ehrlich's highly influential bestseller, The Population Bomb, set the tone. Fewer people being born was better. All sorts of policies were driven by this concern on topics ranging from sex, birth control, and abortion to the desirability of smaller two-earner families, all the way to China's disastrous one-child policy. But it turns out that Ehrlich was criminally wrong. And now the chickens are coming home to roost as we face what Brink Lindsay calls a global fertility collapse. Lots of people call these things different things, huh? Okay, anyways, countries all over the world are trying, with limited success at best, to boost birth rates. Subsidies are nice, but the costs of raising children in terms of not just money, but time and emotional effort are too high for almost any imaginable subsidy to overcome. It's true. Brings me back to the whole childcare issue. It's like, okay, like, you know that the person that is going to be watching your children needs to be able to make a living too. So what makes you think that you're somehow going to be able to, like, you know, that's not going to be a big chunk of your money that, you know, like, okay, if you're a professional and you're rich and everything, okay, and you're going to make $100,000 a year, and then you're going to give half of it away to this person so they can make $50,000 a year, but they're only making $50,000 a year, which is the median income. Like, come on. There's no way to fix that. Even if you do subsidies, yeah, where are they going to come from? So, what can change people's behavior? Well, it was changes in social mores more than anything else outside of China that encouraged people to have fewer children. My mother reports that when she was young, you weren't really considered an adult until you were married and had kids. Thank you. No offense, Susie, but I kind of feel like I was not really an adult until I had kids. I was treated differently. I hated it. And now that I have kids, I see why. Okay. People who were still single at past a certain fairly low age were considered unserious cases of arrested development or just losers. Married men were favored for promotion on the presumption that they had families to support. Unmarried women were seen as losers and faced some degree of social isolation as they reached early middle age. TV shows featured happy families with multiple children. Commercials, etc. just assumed that most people lived in families with multiple children. These attitudes had a strong influence on people's actions. But Ehrlich's book and the accompanying social attitudes changed that. Big families were seen as a step towards that 70s dystopia, Soylent Green. Ehrlich even lobbied the FCC to pressure TV networks to ensure that large families were always portrayed negatively. Really? Wow, that's super crazy. It makes me want to go and watch Soylent Green now. Okay. I would not be surprised to see governments doing the reverse of Ehrlich and encouraging better treatment of large families, which today probably count as families with 3 kids. I have a huge family then, I guess. Though I doubt our U.S. government will be among them unless things change. In addition, of course, more traditional groups, see Butker above, will gain influence, simply because they'll be a bigger proportion of the population. As Mark Stern says, the future belongs to those who show up, and traditional religious groups, trad Catholics, evangelical, Orthodox Jews, conservative Muslims, and Hindus, are reproducing at a substantially higher rate than, well, let's say, the groups that protested Butker's speech. I'm offended that you left the Mormons out. It's okay. Will this be good or bad? I don't know. Mostly, it will just be. Demographic forces don't care much whether we like them or not, but it may happen faster than you think. Plenty of women want careers, and that's fine, and they should be able to have them, but there are undoubtedly a lot of women who follow a career track because they think they're supposed to. All the feminist progress of the last 50 years, after all, has led to substantial declines in women's happiness, according to the General Social Survey. The General Social Survey also says that the happiest people are married mothers and fathers. And I see women college students saying on social media that if they could choose it, they'd be stay-at-home moms in a single-earner family. Right now, most of them are afraid to say it, except on anonymous platforms, but as with many preference cascades, that could change. One reason for the shift to careers and away from the MRS degree in the 1970s was the wave of divorces, as no-fault divorce arrived, and many women who thought they'd be stay-at-home moms in a single-earner family found themselves having to become full-time earners themselves. Thank you. That's the problem. Most divorces today are initiated by women, but there was a wave of husbands trading up for a newer model as they left their wives who put them through medical school, etc. back then. The insecurity that created probably contributed to both to careerism among women and to a reluctance to have too many kids. Unlike Harrison Buchter, I'm not holding myself out as a role model here. When I married Helen, she was finishing her PhD. I don't think I ever had a single serious girlfriend who wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and we only had one terrific kid, though we in fact wanted to. We tried to have 2 or 3, something that, alas, wasn't in the cards. Oh, that's so sad. Dude, like, part of something he's not talking about is that there's also, like, this fertility thing. Like, you wait until you're in your 30s, and then when you get in your 30s, you find out that you have, like, serious fertility problems. It's a lot better to do it in your 20s, folks. You have the energy, okay? But chasing toddlers around as a 40-year-old sucks. But what I want or favor isn't really the point here. The point is that population collapse that I was writing about 20 years ago and that Philip Longman was writing about in Foreign Affairs even before that has now become obvious to everyone. We're headed for the biggest global population drop since the Black Death, and that's going to produce dramatic social changes. The future does belong to those who show up, and those who show up are likely to have the attitudes that caused them to do so. So is Harrison Butker, a harbinger? Quite possibly. If you like this essay, please sign up for a paid subscription. I did like that essay, actually. But I don't think I'm going to buy your subscription, Glenn. How much is it? No, come on, tell me how much it is. It's a law professor, huh? I don't see the cost for it, so whatever. Yeah, people are talking about stuff that we've been saying for years. I do feel like these crazy people will age out of the population, and it will be people like my children that will basically inherit the country. I don't know. Most people are not strategic thinkers and are definitely not thinking about like strategy on a societal level. Okay. I think I'm kind of weird. Most people don't think about like, well, if I do X, Y, and Z thing, that will make my kids more successful and cause my ideas and ideology more likely to survive in the future than others. And because I think that you know, I've done a lot of good work to have good ideas and actually know what I'm talking about, that my ideas should be the ones that perpetuate. But most people don't think like that. Most people are just, you know, surviving from day to day. They're like, all of this inflation and then you want me to have children? Are you kidding me? Well, you know what? Inflation wouldn't be so high if there wasn't as many women in the workforce. Probably a part of why you see a lot of the stats that you do. Of course, people do make more on an inflation basis, adjusted basis today than they did back then. But it's complicated. It's complicated. And I think that a lot of that is that there is not a whole lot of pricing power for you in the labor market because women joining the workforce added a lot of supply. Added a lot of supply. So, yeah. Kind of reminds me of something I was reading about yesterday. This guy was talking about, you know, like, where are you going to find construction workers? Because for like every 50 people that age out of the construction industry, they're only bringing in like 17 new ones. That's wild, man. And we need to build more houses. How's that going to work? Recent study revealed that incomes needed for families to live comfortably across the United States and the stark contrast in the cost of living between states is startling. The study revealed that in the most expensive states, families needed nearly $300,000 to live comfortably. The least expensive state requires about half that, still over $100,000. Jeez. I don't know if I agree with that. But they're probably making some assumptions like that. You're going to buy a house and you bought it this year and, you know, things like that. Kind of warm in here today. I wonder. Actually, hotter in here today. There's actually a reasonable amount of stuff out there to read and so forth for Friday. Let's go to Reddit now. What is the most effective indicator in technical analysis? Oh boy. Oh boy. Please give me a reasoned answer only. No, they've got it. They're making a platform. Volume. 95% of technical indicators are a derivative of volume and price. I'd say price is number 2, but I'm not sure if it counts as a technical indicator. I mean, but doesn't that kind of imply that technical analysis isn't very effective? I mean, come on. I mean, that you can't point to one particular indicator that is more effective than the others should be like a big red flag that maybe technical analysis isn't very effective. Yes, this is just somebody here that made a post and it was like, it really sounds like it. ChatGPT wrote it, and somebody pointed that out immediately. Wait, what? Judge orders Jane Street to reveal strategies by next week for real? Okay, so, oh, it's not gonna let me read it. Redditors get 5 free articles from Bloomberg. You know what? Screw you, Bloomberg. So there was these Indian guys that were working for Jane Street, and they felt like that they weren't getting paid enough, and so they left, and then apparently built something that used the strategy that was too similar, and Jane Street is saying that they stole it. And the judge is now saying, well, in order for us to determine whether or not your trade secrets were stolen, you're going to have to reveal them to the court. That will be interesting. I don't think that it gets revealed to the public, though, right? I don't know. You lost 300 in oil? Dude. Well, oil is... This is why I don't trade it, man. It's scary. Oil does crazy stuff. You should have traded gold today. Gold was on a tear. Actually, they're kind of heading back up towards those highs. It's definitely warmer in here than usual. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm warmer and that's heating the room up. Oh, render poo. Wait, that's a... That was not the first time you've said something, but I don't think that when you talked before that I really read your name that it's render poo. Anyways, he says I'm happy with the one contract I let ride on gold 2 hours ago. Oh man. Oh my boy. Good job. Good job, because that's a pretty crazy looking move in gold. What is that? That 3%. Silver is up 3.19%. That's big. Oh, it's Smitty? Oh, dude. I don't know. That's a cooler name than Smitty. Render poo. Firefox was crapping out, so I switched browsers. Just want to lay down. I think I'm ready for a nap. Ugh. Please don't start this over here now too. So on Wall Street bets, they're like, hey, look, the stock market performs better under Democrat presidents than it does under Republican presidents. And it's like, well, yeah, except for that, you know, George Bush had 9/11 happen, and then there was the 2008 crisis. And you can't necessarily say that those were because he was a Republican. Like, it's just like such a terrible piece of misinformation. And now they're posting it on Wall Street Bets. I can't believe that people don't downvote it. Downvote that crap. It's bullshit. What are your politics? Social conservative, fiscal liberal. That's so funny. Oh. Nobody ever calls them a fiscal liberal, right? So the parts I read of the report, and they pointed out that it's not because one political party's economic policies are bad or the other is better. It's the timing when the party gets elected. When people perceive the future will be smooth and are bullish, they vote blue. But when they are bearish, they vote red. This histogram is deceiving if you don't read the research report. Oh, that, okay. That is an interesting take that I've never heard before. That the more bearish people are about the economy, the more likely they are to vote red. That makes complete sense to me. Yeah, anyways. I'm still going to downvote that story. Oh boy. Tom Holland is going to start in a Romeo and Juliet. You know, I'm not going to put like it that it has to be awful, but pretty much every Hollywood rendition of Romeo and Juliet has been awful, so I'm not going to get too excited. Changing my view, conservatives aren't generally harder working than liberals or leftists to fight the conventional wisdom. I think that they have different attitudes of work. I don't know if how that actually plays out with like how much they actually work. How would you ever measure that? Uh-oh. Did I not warn you guys? Wait, I have to pull it up over here. Did I not warn you guys? Huh? Listen. If you're going to invest in individual stocks, this is something that has caught me more than once. You got to pay attention, okay? If a stock pops off, the company almost always will sell shares and dilute you. And so you get this huge pop, and then you hold it and you're like, it can keep going, and I'll just hold it for years and become a billionaire off of it, right? And then it doesn't happen because they dilute you and it goes to lower than it was before, because they're like, well, they think that that's too high and they sell shares. So here you can see it with GameStop. GameStop to dilute the stock with 45 million new shares. How are they doing now? It's been a while. It's been what? An hour. It's only been an hour since the market's been open. That's crazy. Long day today, I guess. GameStop. It doesn't look too bad yet. No, it's not too bad. It's not too bad yet. Once the consensus on Boeing, now that the second, stay away for sure. Boeing. I have them on my evil list, right? Oh, come on. BA. Boeing Company. It's not terrible on the day, but you know, like, this has not harmed their company as much as it should. You took 3 ticks off an imbalance signal, really? Well, hey, you know what? I kind of, theoretically speaking, this kind of action would be where I would expect the imbalance signal to be more effective, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. Theoretically speaking, we're not able to backtest it thoroughly yet, but theoretically speaking, it's a range-bound trade that's going to be fat-tailed. That's like, it's going to work most of the time, but then on the trend day, you're going to get absolutely slaughtered. At the same time, I am surprised that it actually gave you a signal like that today. I thought that it would be way too mixed to get it to go that far. I think it's good during trend days. Well, you don't want to. Let me tell you, okay. On a real trend day, when I was backtesting the kind of the version of the strategy I was doing before, it definitely did not work. It definitely did not work. But this is, again, is like, we don't completely trust. So hopefully now you can kind of see where I'm saying that, like, when you backtest order flow data with tick replay, that you don't get the same results. And so it's kind of iffy, right? Is because, like, you're looking for an imbalance of where it's like 60%. Well, you know, that's a situation where, like, whether 100 lot gets marked as a buy or a sell at that time could change whether you hit that 60% or not, right? And whether it hits that on this bar or the next bar. And then that couldn't completely shift out, because then it's like, oh, okay, so on the tick replay, it does hit it when it wouldn't have hit it in real life. So you take the trade, and that trade moves against you and it's a loser. And meanwhile, while you were in the trade in real life, it would have triggered there and gotten a better position and had been a winner. And so because it's in this position for a really, really long time, and so maybe there's multiple trades that it would have taken in there that it doesn't end up taking, or, you know, that sort of a thing, right? So we don't actually have the data to know. I'm just speaking that theoretically, based on the kind of strategy that it is, we should expect it to be more vulnerable to fat tails. Yeah. And yes, there's going to be a difference between discretion and taking every signal blindly. So my thing is that I definitely see this where also it used to be that it was like, you know, you get trend days and I would be flabbergasted, like, why is this a trend day, etc., etc., etc. Now when we get trend days, like, I might be like, this doesn't really make sense, but like I can still see the order flows that's happening and stuff. So I don't get myself offsides nearly as badly now. And I think that I am starting to get pretty okay at identifying when we are kind of just gonna range. And you notice I've been pointing them out a lot, where it was like, okay, well, we're in a range that they just kind of came up there to the top a little bit too aggressively. I think that you actually fade that one. But then I always say, but, you know, every time that I try doing this, I get screwed over, so I'm not going to do it. Right? So, like, do I just need to go for it if I actually have gotten good at it and I just need to completely lean into the mean reversion trade when I know that we're likely to be in mean reversion? I know, because it just feels like whenever I actually try to actively trade it that I get destroyed. So, I don't know. You know, with our little setup that we're trying to backtest, the other issue on that one is it's probably not going to happen every day, right? It's probably going to be a relatively rare setup. So that could present some issues in terms of like getting the kind of data that we need. But I can see how you did it. Like it must have been, there was an over there, you know, they went over 40% or whatever down the downside down here, and then you took it and it just came right back up. And not getting any adverse excursion on it, that's great. Because I really wish that I could get more trades where I didn't get any adverse excursion. Like the one $10 trade that I took this week, there was as much adverse excursion as there was favorable excursion. So I don't know if I should pat myself on the back for that trade too much. What happened to my light board? You see that? How long has it been doing that, guys? It's like totally screwed up. One day you're going to program something that works really well, keep it to yourself, and then do everything possible to convince yourself it doesn't work and throw it in the trash. Maybe I've already done that. One of the things that I find is like if I do create something and I'm like, well, let's forward test it, and then I always forget to turn it on. Right? This seems like one that I should test. Like this is a good excuse to get started on some of those longer term projects that I've been neglecting, right? Like I need to get that indicator caching and confirm that like the caching works on backtesting correctly on all of those indicators. And then I need to go and do the long, like take all of the data that I've been saving. I want to roll limit order imbalances alongside this thing just to observe, and since limit data isn't historical, I never remember to put it on. I don't understand that. Because it should save it, right? It's the whole point of the indicator is it saves it. I just haven't added those indicators in the market order imbalance. I should make a caching cumulative delta too. But what I'm saying is, yes, I have all of the indicators set up so that they can cache the data. So you run it live and it should save it when it's running live, and then when it's not running live it will do the tick replay, but you only have to do the tick replay once, because then once it's done it, then it saves it in the file. And so you can do like reasonable back tests and reasonable amounts of time with it. Okay. But I've also been just exporting everything. Like I have an indicator on my chart that exports every level 2 and every piece of volume as it happens live. And I've had that on there now for probably 1 or 2 years. So if we haven't had it up on there and we're like, oh, I wish that I had this on there for the last 2 years so that I would have the accurate data, yada, yada, yada. Feasibly, I can go back and reconstruct it with the live data that I've saved. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the resting orders. I should go and take a look at that, because I had like 2 versions of resting orders, and I don't remember why I was, you know, if one was better than the other or whatever, but I think that they were kind of similar. The resting orders one does this kind of like filtering to try and filter out the stacking and pulling. So been working on serialization, really only done the window sizes, locations, which forms open, need to add colors. So I don't know where I can't remember what the name that he typically uses in YouTube. But he was talking about, oh, let's make your little clock thing, right? And we kind of ran into some issues with it because it didn't work on Windows. And I did a little bit of legwork to be like, well, maybe we can use this graphics library and just go do it from scratch in that way and whatnot. And he was going on vacation. He's like, I can work on it on vacation. And I haven't heard from him since, so I don't know if he actually did it, if he's hasn't come back yet or what. I don't want to get in on that. But going through that kind of just reinforces to me that like part of the reason why you might not see a trading platform in Rust and it might not happen for a long time is because GUI development in Rust is not very mature. Like there's a lot of work to make Rust code work for a GUI, and they need like different paradigms and stuff, and it's just a big mess. And so it's kind of feels like every time that I go into doing that I run into these barriers where it's like what I want to do doesn't actually work, or at least doesn't work with the libraries that I want to use. What I really should be doing though is I should be going and buying, you know, I'll just wait. I'm waiting. But we should be able to afford the data soon and start back testing momentum strategies, right? But I am to a point where we can do this. We should do this and fix those few things. I think they're fixed. Like I thought that I went in and like I found what it did and fixed it, but I'm not sure, so we'll find out. Here, I'll add it to that indicator and then I'll try the back test and see if it works. Also makes me wonder, should I add a setting to say don't cache tick replay? So like if I calculate it from tick replay, I won't save that in the cache. I'll only ever save live data in caches. I think I should add that too. Well, let's put that down in here. I finally got something to cough up, but it's just kind of like whitish stuff. It's not really, doesn't look like much. I should write this video. Are index funds evil? In this one, I really want to write the avoid news algo. That's another big one. So basically, what we need for this is I need a data source that gives me, like Forex Factory. Okay. A Forex Factory like calendar that I can access programmatically, that I can, it will send me JSON or something and allows me to look back so that I can just create a list of all of the major news events of the last 10 years or something like that, right? And then add this kind of thing that says, okay, when we get to those time periods, you don't take any trades in the 5 minutes before and after those, right? And if I'm in a trade already, I get out of it. Then run some of our back tests and things like that so that you're not, because I think that something that might happen is you just happen to get in a trade before the news, and then the news takes it off and it screws all your results up, because the reason why the results were profitable or unprofitable was because of you taking that position into the news and not because of the actual market behavior that you're trying to test, right? So that, I think, is an important piece, and I just haven't found the data source. So you remember that, folks, okay? You're going around, if you find a source that shows you upcoming news events and it has like an interface where you can use JSON or whatever and you can see it going really far back, tell me and we'll make that indicator. But it needs to be more than just a calendar. It needs to have like an endpoint that I can hit. I've tried looking on this before. Let's do it. Let's do it right now. So like I can come in and inspect it, and then I can say network, and I can refresh here. Oh my gosh, that's so much stuff. 105 requests. You gotta be kidding me, right? I want to see somewhere some call to a back-end thing that would give me that it is the data, essentially, But I'm not seeing. I remember it. I remember before doing it, and then it being like that only they could call it. That if I tried to call it, it would reject me. Yes, when you say the resting orders indicator caches, you mean if you reload it, it'll show the historical data since it's been running. Correct. It doesn't. What? So there are some weird things that you could have done that will screw it up. So here's what you have to look at. Let me show you. Okay, we're gonna start a new chart. 1 minute. Okay. And then we're gonna come in here and I'm gonna add resting orders. I would add a level 2 changes and resting orders. Okay. Okay, so when you add this onto the chart, you see this ID thing right here? It creates this ID thing. That is the ID that it looks for to find the cached data. So there are certain things that you could do where, like, you copy a chart and things like that, and the IDs don't get set correctly, and so it just doesn't find the cached data because it's not there under that name. But if I click OK, it's putting stuff on there. It's doing the level 2 changes. Okay. If I come over here into my folder now, let's see, work Ninja Trader. And then there should be a... Oh, wait. Hold the boats. Hold the boats. Does it not work with some newer versions of Ninja Trader where they don't create the cache folder? But there was definitely a cache folder, like, for... hold on a second. Here it is. Oh, because that Ninja Trader 8 folder was going to bin. Okay, yeah. Okay, so here's my cache folder. Okay. And, oh, well, that's not right. Oh, wait, those are different. These are from when I was doing it before. Okay, so they're adding, here was like resting orders. Here was one that I had before. Let's change the date modified here to be like to show me ones from today. Okay, so there it is right there. 1 minute resting orders, blah 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 blah. Okay. So now if I come over to this chart, I'm super nervous here now because you're telling me it doesn't work and I'm like, did it stop working and nobody noticed? If I hit F5 here, those 3 candles that I see should still be there. Okay, I hit F5, they're still there. So if they're not there, then you screwed something up somewhere, right? And that's where it's like, okay, I come over here. Do I have this cache folder? What does it, because it should be the ID, the name of the chart, and then this 2024-05-17 bit. It also includes the settings. So like if you change the settings, that could change it. Oh, now it's working? Well, no, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, because the problem with it was you'd pull it up and you're like, oh, this is super useful. But then you wanted to see what it did yesterday and you couldn't see yesterday's anymore. So we did that so that it, you know, so that I can still look at yesterday's and it sees it, right? And by the way, so the resting orders one is interesting, but like there's a lot of noise in that one. So I don't, you know, I haven't been able to figure that. That's one where it's, again, there seems to be this Markov system sort of thing going on. Okay. But the level 2 changes one, that's actually for those level 2 indicators, that's actually my favorite one. Well, the market order imbalance is my favorite one because I had some success with it in backtesting to make me think, you know, should keep going with that one. There, you know, there's something to it. But this level 2 changes, I've also done that. Like, so what I would do is you will just see a spike in level 2 changes. It's like all of a sudden something starts happening and there's just a ton of level 2 changes and like stuff tends to happen around those. I thought that I had a setup that was working. I was backtesting it by hand where when that happened, you'd reverse it and it would tend to reverse, and it worked for a really long time and then it stopped working. You might remember that one. And having this thing where you look at how many changes are happening on the buy and sell side and the changes in that and like the imbalance between the two of them is an interesting thing to look at. So that's another one you might want to add if you're going to mess with that stuff. And again, I don't put it on my charts because I'm not trying to take technical trades off of them, and I feel like I can see those things from the DOM. And the reason I created these were because these were things that I was seeing on the DOM and I wanted to backtest, right? So yeah. Market order and balance, though, that's one thing that I can't do on my own, I guess. For that one, if you wanted to do it without the indicator, I would use the power meters, right? Anyways, I'm going to close this. I do too. I just want to look at history. I don't necessarily need, but I just want, yeah. So this one right here, you see this data pipe? Today's the 17th. So where's the 17th one? Well, I don't know. Oh, it's right there. Cut. And then I have a little folder over here somewhere. I think it's an archive D. Market data. Yep, and here's my data pipe. Several gigabytes of data. Just the part that I'm copying and not. I've been running this longer than I realized because look at that. I have data from 2022. I probably don't have there's probably some days where maybe it didn't work or something. I don't know, but basically I'm supposed to have 2 years worth of backtesting data in here. It does look like I am missing some. Oh, no. It's just kind of being weird about. Yeah, okay. Change it to date modified. There we go. Yes. Okay, so there is a gap between April and November. I wonder what that's about. Maybe I deleted my cache folder and forgot to grab it. But it's pretty good going back through here. 2020. So I started in August of 2022. And that's everything. So it would be some work for me to do it. I would probably want to make a Python script that but basically this is all of the raw data that actually comes into your app. So you could recreate everything from these data pipes files. Yeah, not bad. We'll go back there and check that cache again. So there's some more right there. Maybe let's sort it by name. Aha. Cool. Oops. I press Control Lock instead of Shift to select them all. So now I have to do it again. Cut. Market data. Paste. So what I need to do is I need to make something that sends it over to the Kubernetes cluster, right? Uploads it to the Kubernetes cluster. Once it's in the Kubernetes cluster, then I will have all of these transformation things that process the data and turns it into features. And then I can take those feature data series and pass them to a machine learning algorithm. That's the ultimate plan that I'm too lazy to do. Because there seems to be a Markov system. The market order imbalance in particular, it's like you'll see it. There tends to be, there's more offers than bids or something like that. And so when that's the case, they tend to trend up. And then it will shift, and all of a sudden they tend to move away from which side there's more liquidity on. So there seems to be a Markov system involved. Wall Street bets that company files to sell securities, says first quarter sales declined, drops again in pre-market. Oy. A real bloodbath over there, huh? Wow, is this really 17 gigabytes? Good thing that the drive that I'm transferring this to is like 20 terabytes large. We begin futures rollover. No. Oh, maybe that does the ES. No, because they change in March. Why are they asking? Why is Obsidian asking that? Okay, good job. All right. Okay, guys. Well, Tight Monday. We should come in and like have a title for this. Tight Friday. Seth tries to get himself canceled on Tight Friday. I don't think anybody's going to cancel me, unfortunately. Maybe the feminists pick it up and the video blows up and we'll be like, what the heck? What? This is so wild. That would be fun, actually. And then I could just argue with a bunch of, like, raving feminists about actually probably would be happier staying at home and taking care of children. Probably. Oh, guys. I'm already tired. I have a whole day's worth of work. This is going to be a long weekend. Hopefully I get better after today, though. Because I still want to work out on Saturday. All right, guys. See you on Monday. Stay excellent, team.